and welcome to Millennium News Hour. I am Tanziba Nauri. In today's bulletin, we will get you detailed news from across the nation and the world. Let's begin with the headlines of the day. Emboldened Biden, Dems push ban on so-called assault weapons. Walmart shooter left death note, bought gun day of killing. Three killed in Thanksgiving accident on I-79 in West Virginia. Musk plans to relaunch Twitter premium service again. WHO CDC says a record 40 million kids miss measles vaccine dose. Russia steps up missile barrage of recaptured Ukrainian city. Putin decries media lies at meeting with soldiers' mothers. NATO vows to aid Ukraine for as long as it takes. New Malaysian PM Anwar vows to heal divided nation economy. Ten killed in apartment fire in northwest China's Xinjiang. Iran bolsters border security to prevent infiltration. Trial begins for two Swedish charged with spying for Russia. China sentences Chinese-Canadian star Chris Wu to 13 years. Iran government supporters confront protesters at World Cup. Injured Neymar to miss Brazil's second World Cup match. And US frustrates England again at a World Cup in 0-0 draw. Now news in detail. When President Joe Biden speaks about the scourge of gun violence, his go-to answer is to zero in on assault weapons. America has heard it hundreds of times, including this week after shootings in Colorado and Virginia. The president wants to sign into law a ban on high-powered guns that have the capacity to kill many people very quickly. The idea will still allow semi-automatic weapons to be purchased is sick. Just sick, Biden said on Thanksgiving Day, after the mass killing last Saturday at a gay nightclub in Colorado Springs. He said in a statement, "When will we decide we have had enough? We need to enact an assault weapons ban to get weapons of war off America's streets." Such a move is still far off in a closely divided Congress. But Biden and the Democrats have become increasingly emboldened in pushing for stronger gun controls, and doing so with no clear electoral consequences. The Democratic-led House passed legislation in July to revive a 1990s-era ban on assault weapons, with Biden's vocal support. And the president pushed the weapons ban nearly everywhere that he campaigned this year. Still, in the midterm elections, Democrats kept control of the Senate and Republicans were only able to claim the slimmest House majority in 2 decades. The Walmart supervisor who shot and killed 6 co-workers in Virginia left behind what he called a death note on his phone that apologized for what he was about to do while simultaneously blaming others for mocking him. "Sorry everyone, but I did not plan this. I promise things just fell in place like I was led by the Satan," Andrew Bing wrote on a note that was left on his phone, Chesapeake police said Friday. Police also said the gun, a 9mm handgun, was legally purchased on the morning of the shooting and that Bing had no criminal record. The note was redacted slightly to eliminate names of specific people he mentioned. He claimed he was harassed by idiots with low intelligence and a lack of wisdom, and said he was pushed to the brink by a perception his phone was hacked. He wrote, "My only wish would have been to start over from scratch, and that my parents would have paid closer attention to my social deficit." Bing died at the scene of an apparent self-inflicted gunshot wound. Co-workers of Bing who survived the shooting said he was difficult and known for being hostile with employees. One survivor said Bing seemed to target people and fired at some victims after they were already hit. 3 people were killed and 2 others were injured in a Thanksgiving Day crash along Interstate 79 in West Virginia, authorities said. The vehicle carrying 2 adults and 3 children was traveling from Upper Darby, Pennsylvania to Kentucky when the crash occurred early Thursday near Elkview north of Charleston, the Kanawha County Sheriff's Office said in a news release. The southbound SUV went off the right side of the roadway, entered and left a ditch line and came to rest along a hillside. No other vehicles were believed to be involved. 2 female adults, Nighat Saida, 71 years old, and Hira Saida, 33 years old, were killed along with a child. 2 other children were transported to a hospital and were in serious condition, the statement said. The cause of the accident is under investigation. Elon Musk said Friday that Twitter plans to relaunch its premium service that will offer different colored check marks to accounts next week, in a fresh move to revamp the service after a previous attempt backfired. It's the latest change to the social media platform that the billionaire Tesla CEO bought last month for $44 billion, coming a day after Musk said he would grant amnesty for suspended accounts and causing yet more uncertainty for users. Twitter previously suspended the premium service, which under Musk granted blue check labels to anyone paying $8 a month because of a wave of imposter accounts. Originally, the blue check was given to government entities, corporations, celebrities, and journalists verified by the platform to prevent impersonation. In the latest version, companies will get a gold check, governments will get a grey check, and individuals who pay for the service, whether or not they are celebrities, will get a blue check, Musk said Friday. The World Health Organization and the US Centers for Disease Control and Prevention say measles immunization has dropped significantly since the coronavirus pandemic began, resulting in a record high of nearly 40 million children missing a vaccine dose last year. In a report issued Wednesday, the WHO and the CDC said millions of children were now susceptible to measles, among the world's most contagious diseases. In 2021, officials said there were about 9 million measles infections and 128,000 deaths worldwide. The WHO and CDC said continued drops in vaccination, weak disease surveillance, and delayed response plans due to COVID-19, in addition to ongoing outbreaks in more than 20 countries, mean that measles is an imminent threat in every region of the world. Scientists estimate that at least 95% of a population needs to be immunized to protect against epidemics. The WHO and the CDC reported that only about 81% of children receive their first dose of measles vaccine, while 71% get their second dose, marking the lowest global coverage rates of the first measles dose since 2008. Now it's time for global updates. A barrage of missiles struck the recently liberated city of Kherson for the second day Friday, in a marked escalation of attacks since Russia withdrew from the city 2 weeks ago following an 8-month occupation. It comes as Russia has stepped up bombardment of Ukraine's power grid and other critical civilian infrastructure in a bid to tighten the screw on Kiev. Officials estimate that around 50% of Ukraine's energy facilities have been damaged in the recent strikes. The Ukrainian governor of Kherson, Yaroslav Yanushevych said Friday that Russian shelling attacks killed 10 civilians and wounded 54 others the previous day, with 2 neighborhoods in the city of Kherson coming under massive artillery fire. Soldiers in the region had warned that Kherson would face intensified strikes as Russian troops dig in across the Dnieper River. Scores of people were injured in the strikes that hit residential and commercial buildings, lighting some on fire, blowing ash into the air and littering the streets with shattered glass. The attacks brought destruction on some residential neighborhoods not previously hit in the war that has just entered its 10th month. Russian President Vladimir Putin on Friday hit out at what he said were skewed media portrayals of Moscow's military campaign in Ukraine as he met with mothers of Russian soldiers fighting there. Life is more difficult and diverse than what is shown on TV screens or even on the internet. There are many fakes, cheating, lies there, Putin said. The meeting in the Kremlin with more than a dozen women came as uncertainty persists over whether enlistment efforts may resume in the face of recent battlefield setbacks. Putin said that he sometimes speaks with troops directly by telephone, according to a Kremlin transcript and photos of the meeting. I have spoken to troops who surprised me with their mood, their attitude to the matter. They didn't expect these calls from me. Give me every reason to say that they are heroes, Putin said. Some soldiers' relatives have complained of not being invited to the meeting and have directly criticized Putin's leadership as well as the recent partial mobilization that defense officials said resulted in 300,000 reservists being called up. NATO is determined to help Ukraine defend itself against Russia for as long as it takes and will help the war-wrecked country transform its armed forces into a modern army up to Western standards, the alliance's Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg vowed on Friday. Speaking to reporters ahead of a meeting of NATO foreign ministers in Romania next week, Stoltenberg urged countries that want to, either individually or in groups, to keep providing air defense systems and other weapons to Ukraine. NATO as an organization does not supply weapons. NATO will continue to stand with Ukraine for as long as it takes. We will not back down, the former Norwegian Prime Minister said. Allies are providing unprecedented military support, and I expect foreign ministers will also agree to step up non-lethal support. Stoltenberg said that members of the 30-nation security organization have been delivering fuel, generators, medical supplies, winter equipment and drone jamming devices, but that more will be needed as winter closes in, particularly as Russia attacks Ukraine's energy infrastructure. Long-time reformist leader Anwar Ibrahim was sworn in as Malaysia's Prime Minister Thursday and vowed to heal a racially divided nation, fight corruption and revive an economy struggling with the rising cost of living. His rise to the top was a victory for political reformers who were locked in a battle with Malay nationalists for days after a divisive general election on Saturday produced a hung parliament. Anwar took his oath of office in a simple ceremony at the National Palace that was broadcast on national television. Malaysia's King Sultan Abdullah Sultan Ahmed Shah named Anwar as the nation's 10th leader after saying he was satisfied that Anwar is the candidate who is likely to have majority support. In his first news conference, Anwar said he would form a unity government comprising his alliance of hope that won 82 seats, the National Front with 30 seats, and a bloc from Eastern Sarawak state with 23 seats. He said that would give him a majority of 135 seats, with other smaller blocs expected to join. Anwar promised Monday that his cabinet will be leaner compared to the previous, oversized administration and said he will forgo his salary as Prime Minister amid the country's economic slowdown. He said new cabinet members would be asked to cut their salaries too. A fire in an apartment building in northwestern China's Xinjiang region killed 10 people and injured 9, authorities said Friday. in the second major fire in the country this week, leaving a total of 48 dead. The fire broke out Thursday night in the regional capital of Urumqi, where temperatures have dropped below freezing after dark. Flames spread upward from the 15th floor to the 17th floor, with smoke billowing up to the 21st floor, according to multiple state media reports. The blaze took around 3 hours to extinguish. The deaths and injuries were caused by inhalation of toxic fumes, with those taken to the hospital all expected to survive, the report said. An initial investigation appeared to show the fire was sparked from a power strip in a bedroom of one of the 15th floor apartments, they said. Aging infrastructure, poor safety awareness and, in some cases, government corruption have led to a series of recent fires, explosions and building collapses around China, which continues to grapple with new COVID-19 outbreaks, prompting lockdowns and rigid travel restrictions affecting millions of people. Iran has sent additional units of special forces to fortify its northern border with Iraq and clamp down on what it says is infiltration by Kurdish opposition groups, Iranian state media reported on Friday. General Mohammad Pakpour, chief of ground forces of the paramilitary Iranian Revolutionary Guard, said armored and special forces units had been deployed to west and northwest provinces to bolster existing border security, the official IRNA news agency reported. The deployment aims to prevent infiltration and the smuggling of weapons in the north by Kurdish opposition groups exiled in Iraq that Tehran claims is orchestrating countrywide anti-government protests. It is a claim the Kurdish groups deny, and to date Iran has not provided any evidence to support it. Iran has several military bases near the Iraqi border and forces have been present there on a rotating basis for decades. A trial opened in Sweden Friday for two Iranian-born Swedish brothers charged with spying for Russia and its military intelligence service GRU for a decade. P-Man Kia, 42 years old, and Payam Kia, 35 years old, appeared before the Stockholm District Court to face charges of having worked jointly to pass information to Russia between September 28, 2011 and September 20, 2021. Between 2014 and 2015, P-Man Kia worked for Sweden's domestic intelligence agency, but also for the country's armed forces. Swedish prosecutors allege that the data they gave the Russians originated from several authorities within the Swedish Security and Intelligence Service, known by its acronym SAPO. Swedish media reported that P-Man Kia worked for the Armed Forces Foreign Defense Intelligence Agency, known in Sweden by its acronym MUST, and worked with a top secret unit within the agency that dealt with Swedish spies abroad. Intelligence expert Joachim von Braun told Swedish broadcasters SVT that even though many details remain unknown, it appeared to be one of most damaging cases of espionage in Sweden's history because the men compiled a list of all the employees within SAPO. A Chinese court on Friday sentenced Chinese-Canadian pop star Chris Wu to 13 years in prison on charges including rape. Beijing's Chaoyang District Court said Wu was given 11 years and 6 months for a 2020 rape and 1 year and 10 months for the crime of assembling a crowd to engage in sexual promiscuity in a 2018 event in which he and others allegedly assaulted two women they had gotten drunk. The court said the three victims in the rape case had also been drunk and were unable to consent. It said a combined 30-year sentence was agreed on and Wu would be immediately deported after serving his time. According to the facts, the nature, circumstances and harmful consequences of the crime, the court made the above judgment, the court said in an online statement. A Canadian diplomat was in court to hear the sentencing, it said. Wu was also slapped with a fine of 600 million yuan. Wu was also slapped with a fine of 600 million yuan for evading taxes by massively underreporting his earnings from performances, advertisements, and other sources of income. Tensions ran high at Iran's second match at the World Cup on Friday, as fans supporting the Iranian government harassed those protesting against it, and stadium security seized flags, t-shirts and other items expressing support for the protest movement that has gripped the Islamic Republic. Some fans were stopped by stadium security from bringing in Persian pre-revolutionary flags to the match against Wales at the Ahmad bin Ali Stadium. Others carrying such flags had them ripped from their hands by pro-government Iran fans, who also shouted insults at fans wearing t-shirts with the slogan of the protest movement gripping the country, "Oman, Life, Freedom." Unlike in their first match against England, the Iran players sang along to their national anthem before the match as some fans in the stadium wept, whistled and booed. The national team has come under close scrutiny for any statements or gestures about the nationwide protests that have wrecked Iran for weeks. Now it's time for business news. Today's New York stock close price is 15,605.67. The NYSE composite is increased by 60.15 points or 0.39%. Tokyo stock close price is 28,283.03. The Nikkei 225 index is decreased by 100.06 points or 0.35%. Shanghai stock close price is 3,101.6932. The Shanghai Composite Index is increased by 12.38 points or 0.40%. Hong Kong stock close price is 17,573.58. The Hang Seng Index is decreased by 87.32 points or 0.49%. Bombay stock close price is 62,293.64. The Sensex index is increased by 20.96 points or 0.03%. Now a look of today's sports stories. Neymar will miss Brazil's second World Cup match but will remain with the squad undergoing treatment for his ankle injury, the team doctor said Friday. Rodrigo Lasmar said tests conducted on his right ankle showed that Neymar has a ligament injury and will not be fit to play against Switzerland on Monday. It's important to remain calm. An evaluation will be conducted daily so we can have more information and take the most appropriate decisions, Lasmar said, adding that the goal is to have him recover in time to still play in the tournament. Lasmar did not give a timetable for Neymar's recovery. He said the situation of defender Danilo, who has a left ankle injury, was similar to Neymar's and he would also miss the game against Switzerland. Neymar was receiving treatment at the team's hotel Friday after getting injured in the 2-0 win against Serbia in Brazil's opener. Now the World Cup football matches report. As protests that have gripped Iran emerged at the World Cup, its national team rallied late for its first win at the tournament in Qatar. Rozbe Cheshmi scored in the 8th minute of second half stoppage time to break a scoreless stalemate, and Iran went on to defeat Wales 2-0 on Friday. Qatar is staring at the World Cup exit. Senegal sent the host team to a second loss at its home tournament on Friday after seizing on a defensive error from the Qatar team for the opening goal in a 3-1 victory. Netherlands and Ecuador drew 1-1 in their second Group A game at the 2022 Qatar World Cup. Cody Gakpo's second of the tournament put the Dutch ahead before Ener Valencia equalized for the South American nation. Result knocks host nation out of tournament. The United States frustrated England in a 0-0 draw on Friday for its second consecutive tie in the World Cup. The result might not match the US' famous 1-0 win from the 1950 tournament, but it was the latest occasion in which the Americans have defied the odds against the Three Lions. Let's have a look on today's weather chart. That's all in today's news. Keep watching Millennium News 24 for latest updates. Millennium TV USA and Millennium News 24 network is transmitted and available to be watched free for all at TVs such as Sony, Samsung, LG, Roku TV, Amazon TV and Apple TV. And also in all European countries and Australia, available with Sky Network, Worldwide Jadoo TV, Radiant IPTV, Worldwide Jago BD Network and Horizon Satellite globally. Stay connected with us for all types of informative and entertainment program. Thank you.